Welcome on into another edition of Thursday Throwdown. The fourth edition already. Man, time goes by fast. I am your host, Spencer Davies. We will be recapping Raw and everything going into the WWE every Thursday. So let's dive on into it right now, why don't we? Let's go with the matches. First off, we had John Cena and Dean Ambrose defeat Golden Stardust and the Usos in a triple threat tag match. AJ Lee and Layla defeated Paige and Alicia Fox. Randy Orton defeated Dolph Ziggler. Seth Rollins defeated Jack Swagger. Rusev defeated Big Show via disqualification because of a Mark Henry interference. The Miz defeated Sheamus via countout. Brie Bella, Natalya, and Naomi with guest star Nene Leakes defeated Nikki Bella, Summer Rae, and Cameron. And in the main event, Dean Ambrose defeated John Cena for a contract to face Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell. Now, I really love this Raw. I give this an 8 out of 10. This was easily the best Raw they've had in months because the entire show focused on matches and developing storylines the way WWE is supposed to do it, unlike all this other garbage that's happened in the past couple of weeks. My moment of the night, Randy Orton's RKO to Dolph Ziggler. He literally threw him up in the air from a powerbomb position and RKO'd him. Easily the best finishing move of this month and year, maybe. So let's dive on into it. At the beginning of the show, we have John Cena and Dean Ambrose, originally slated to compete against each other at Hell in a Cell to see who faces Seth Rollins in Hell in a Cell later in that night. But we start the show off with John Cena and Dean Ambrose in the ring, and we ended up getting something completely different, and I like it. So, what the Authority did was make a match between John Cena and Dean Ambrose, a contract on a pole match that was supposed to happen at a pay-per-view, and said, hey, let's do it tonight, after they had their match with the Usos and Golden Stardust. So, they pulled double duty, and they had a main event on Raw that wasn't that great of a match, but it got the job done. So now we have two Hell in a Cell matches at Hell in a Cell. One being Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, which I cannot wait to see. This is a match I've been waiting to see for so long, to see how good these guys can really work together. I know they have great chemistry. They both have tremendous in-ring ability. This is going to be a fantastic match, folks. And then you had Randy Orton complaining to the Authority, saying, hey, I want my spotlight. So he suggests that he gets the loser of Dean Ambrose and John Cena. John Cena lost, so we once again have a Randy Orton-John Cena match, and now you have a double main event to sell your pay-per-view while your champion is out hunting deer in Alaska. Now what I want to know is who's going to be the main event. Who's going to be the one to close the show? In my opinion, it should be Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins because of all the crowd attention they are drawing. We know what we're going to get between Cena and Orton. You're going to get a good match. Yes, the crowd has the most heat and love for Cena, I guess you could say. But you have two guys that you're trying to groom into your future, and they are your future. Have the main event. Give them a taste of what it's like to close a show. Moving on. So Bray Wyatt comes out with another cryptic promo. What is this all about? I don't know what all of this means. First, you thought it was a Luke Harper push. Then you saw Eric Rowan get into the mix. So you're like, okay, what's going on? Are they splitting off from the Wyatt family, or what are they doing? Now Bray Wyatt talks about himself getting advice from Sister Abigail, as we all know her. But then you see these words and all these tongues saying, and you hear, it's coming, it's coming. What exactly is it? Does anyone know what it is? If you do, please tell me. I really don't know. Is it the debut of the Ascension? Is it the debut of a brand new character that we've never seen before? Is it just a singles push for one of them? I have no idea. But I'd like to find out because this is one of the most compelling storylines they've had in a long time. And Bray Wyatt's finally going to get pushed to that mountaintop once again where he belongs and not in bad storylines. Dolph Ziggler and Cesaro were announced for Hell in a Cell as well on Monday Night Raw. Dolph Ziggler had a fantastic match with Randy Orton, If you did not see that match, you need to watch that. That's one of the best matches that they've had on Raw this year. Dolph Ziggler can hang with the big boys, which is why I think he should be thrust into the main event eventually once again, but they're trying to hold him back because of his injuries. I feel like they need to let him see the mic more. I feel like they need to give him better competition like they just did on Raw, because him and Orton went toe-to-toe. They had great chemistry together. So him and Cesaro are announced for Hell in a Cell. This match between these two is going to be the best mid-card match we've seen in years. I guarantee you they have great chemistry together. You've got the brute that is Cesaro, and then you've got someone like Dolph Ziggler who, one, has tremendous in-ring ability, and two, can sell an encyclopedia to a blind man. I think it's going to open Hell in a Cell, and I think it's going to be a great match for the crowd to pump them up and get them ready for the pay-per-view. And no one really speaks about how great Cesaro is in the ring. Cesaro is a great in-ring worker. He doesn't really have it on the mic. That's why he kind of needs a manager. But I think he's main event material, and if you don't think he's main event material, I don't know what you're thinking, because what I see in front of me is someone who thinks he has charisma, will eventually get charisma, and he's already got the tools inside the ring. And we haven't seen anything yet. I can guarantee you that. He has not pulled out any of his Ring of Honor stops yet. Wait till he gets thrust into that main event, because then he will show his true colors. So at the beginning of the show, John Cena and Dean Ambrose took on both the Usos and Golden Stardust, which means Golden Stardust and the Usos are still feuding, which I am happy about. I'm not going to lie. Their matches together are great, and they have been great for a long time. And the fact, like I said before, incorporating those two with John Cena and Dean Ambrose shows how much trust the company has in those guys. And I feel like Golden Stardust are going to have that ability to keep carrying the titles and drawing crowds, crowd reactions, all that. A little bit later in the show, The Miz ended up taking on Sheamus once again. Last week, you saw The Miz get the upper hand because Damian Mizdow, his stunt double, came onto the apron and Sheamus bro kicked him and Miz rolled him up. This week, it was a little different. Same thing was happening. Sheamus was dominating the match. Then Miz goes outside of the ring and ends up crawling underneath the ring. And you see Damian Mizdow follow him. What happens? Sheamus pulls out the wrong guy. Miz goes out the other end, climbs into the ring, ends up getting a count out. I thought it was a great way to keep on pushing this storyline. I feel that The Miz is going to be the eventual U.S. champion because I don't see where Sheamus is going at this point. And The Miz is the character they're developing into someone that you want to hate. Meanwhile, Damian Mizdow is just the most entertaining person in this entire match because he's faking all these injuries on the outside because he's a stunt double. And he ends up holding his knee and crouching over, holding his ribs. It's really funny. Most people would find it stupid, but I really find it amusing, and I think he's a very, very entertaining person. And he should end up getting his own push of some sort soon, because they're misusing him, even though he's flourishing in this role. On to the storyline everyone else is kind of tired of, and I am myself. Rusev and The Big Show, they were announced for Hell in a Cell after they had their match on Raw. It was a decent match. I think it was actually a really good moment where I thought it could never happen. I saw Rusev pull off a beautiful dropkick on The Big Show. He ended up having him in the Accolade, his finishing move, and Mark Henry ended up coming out, interfering in the match, and ended up disqualifying Big Show, so Rusev got the win. So now that Mark Henry interfered, you've got to think that this is going to lead to a full-on heel turn, because they've been teasing it for weeks with the Bo Dallas matches, or they surprise us and Big Show turns heel on Mark Henry. Either way, I feel like these two are very, very near their end. We'll see what happens at Hell in a Cell. I'm not sure. I think Rusev gets that win, and I still think that Kurt Angle is going to be the one to stop him. I think that those TNA negotiations are going to fall through, and Kurt Angle ends up coming back home for one last run, and his first mission will be to stop Rusev. Finally, AJ Lee and Paige are still feuding. What really grinds my gears about this is they're not using these two to their full potential on the mic or in the ring. They're using other divas. The best friend storyline I'm not a fan of. I'm not going to lie. The AJ Lee Paige best friend storyline, that's not Paige. That's not AJ Lee. Paige is a ruthless diva. You should have watched her in NXT and seen what she did down there, what kind of attitude she brought. Yes, she was a face, but at the same time, she was aggressive. Her nickname was the Anti-Diva. And as soon as she gets brought up to the main roster, her and AJ Lee are best friends. That should not have been the case. And now that she is a heel, she's still doing this best friends stuff. I'm not a fan of it. I think that she deserves a lot better. I think AJ Lee deserves a lot better. They can put on a great match together, but they just need the time to put the storyline together instead of this Total Divas garbage. Speaking of Total Divas garbage, I would like to thank the WWE for not having any of those bad segments on Raw. They had one little match between the two, but it only took about 5 minutes to finish. They used Nene Leakes in a very limited way, which is how they should have used Kathy Lee and Hoda last week instead of getting booed out of the building. Notice what happens. You can still promote, but you don't have to involve them for the majority of your show or any big segment of your show. And they did that perfectly with this one. I'm really looking forward to Hell in a Cell, though. It's going to be a good pay-per-view, I feel. And then you're going to get your returning champion, Brock Lesnar, eventually. And who's he going to feud with? That's the question we would all like to know. But I will say, this is all the time we have left for Thursday Throwdown. I'd like to thank you for joining me, Spencer Davies, and for listening to everything WWE and wrestling in the past week. Tune in next Thursday to see what happens on Raw. Have a great day, everybody.